What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoops. It is Thursday, May 1st. We're in the thick of the playoffs, and Nico Harrison may have been right. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But the Lakers lost last night. Got sent home. We have so much to get into here. Some series ended last night. Other series were extended last night. We have more games tonight. Knicks, Pistons, Nuggets, Clippers, which we're going to start with. Recapping some series that ended. Looking ahead to some second round series finally. So a lot to get into, guys. How we doing? I know playoffs, we always love it, but how we feeling?
Yeah, it would have been better if the Lakers could have got a rebound. But hey, we'll dive into that. I have my thoughts on a lot of parts of that Lakers team, but we're doing good. Playoffs have been solid so far. I know Jake's probably doing a lot better than even both of us are, Dunny. I know you advanced,
Yep.
but what the Cavs did in round one to the Heat was just embarrassing. And you gotta be feeling good if you're Jake going into round two. But I'm really looking forward to these next rounds. I know outside of the next Pistons are actually making this series. Clippers Nuggets has been fantastic. I mean that's been appointment television every time. But outside of that, I've just been kind of waiting for the next round. Just kind of wait because that's where we get to the bread and butter. That's where we're gonna have some juicy matchups. So right now, calm before the storm. Calm before the storm.
Yeah, I would say I'm feeling pretty good. I'd say that's an accurate assessment. I before game four even really got going, I was setting up. I sent you guys a picture. It was a beautiful day here in Chicago, the first warm day. So I was getting set up outside, and as always, I'm running right up to the end of the buzzer, usually before these games, running around doing stuff. So I finally sit down, whatever. And it's 19-8 when I finally sit down outside. Like I'm paying attention. I know they're up. I'm whatever 18-8. I'm like, okay, good start. Then I was like going inside, and I had to do some more putzing around, doing whatever. And then it was 30-8. I was like, okay, now we're getting there. And then there was it just kept going. It was almost 30 points in the first quarter. It was almost 60 points in the second half. Feeling good. That's the last I've seen of my Cleveland Cavaliers. So, yeah, things are going well.
Yeah, I was told Tyler Hero and the Heat were gonna not get swept. Tyler Hero
Oh
told me
yeah.
that. So I'm still waiting for game five. But yeah, that was incredible, Jake. I mean, when you sent us that and you were sitting outside watching the game, I was like, that is how comfortable you can be as a Cavs fan watching this game four. You can be outside, you can remove yourself because they have this. They didn't need Darius Garland, despite what Kyle Anderson said.
Mm.
So yeah, just great time to be a Cavs fan. We're gonna preview a little bit at the end. Cavs, Pacers. A lot of the other second round series haven't been determined yet because we're getting a little bit of drama. And we can talk about the games that are happening tonight because there's certainly drama in these two series. Knicks, Pistons. Let's start there, guys. Were you surprised when the Pistons grabbed a win the other night and extended this game, and now we have a game six?
A little bit, but not necessarily from the Pistons side of it. Kind of surprised at how poor the Knicks are playing down the stretch. And the one thing that I really want to point out from the Knicks losing Game 5 is the fact that Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, and unlike Knicks fashion, weren't on the court until about 30 seconds to go down in the stretch in that fourth quarter. I mean, something just kind of wild that you look at. It's like, well, what's going on, right? You got your best player, probably your hardest player, both standing on the sidelines. But it's just kind of been the same thing for the Knicks, really, in this series, as they've just been so inconsistent down the stretch. You've had, a couple games where they did come all the way back and they beat the Pistons, then one where they almost came back and fell short. And then you have other games where it just looks like they don't really have any offensive flow. And I guess I got to credit the Pistons defense for that, right? I mean, I know
Yeah.
you hate on the Knicks a little bit, and you're like, oh, Cat's been inconsistent down the stretch. Like they're just trying to foul bait with Jalen Brunson. There's no really offensive flow, but you got to credit the Pistons defense sometimes. And I guess I have to. I thought the Knicks were going to kind of run away in this series. Pistons are going to make it a good series, and all the pressure's on New York now, right? Because you got to win Game 6 in Detroit, which is not an easy place to win, especially a team that's playing with confidence in the home court advantage that they're going to have tonight. And if you lose that game, it's Game 7, right? It doesn't matter that it's in the Garden. It's a coin flip. You just lost in the Garden. So I'm pretty surprised by this series. I'm not going to lie, guys. This is probably the one where I feel like I whiffed the most on in terms of where I thought one team was going to run the other team out of the gym, and Pistons are hanging in there.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Steve. Like, I think we have to credit Detroit's defense at some point here, but it's also like I feel like whenever there's even towards the end of the regular season, or I guess just the whole regular season, and then every game in this series where we feel the Knicks disappointed a little, I feel like it's kind of an easy thing to turn to, and we're just like, okay, well, Cat shot 5 of 14. And maybe it is the same song and dance with this guy, but then Brunson also 4 of 16. It's like
Right.
if that's what you're getting from those two guys, like I could have just looked at this box score and told you the Knicks lost this game. If you're in the playoffs and that's what you're getting from your two best guys, you're probably going to lose. And obviously Brunson's not right now. Hart as well. Like those guys are very clearly banged up. I don't know if you guys saw the video of MSG's court where Brunson looked like
Yeah.
he stepped on a
Yeah.
trampoline
Yeah.
pad.
Mhm.
And so, I don't know what's going on there, but his body's obviously not right. And, whether that's the court's fault or not, I don't know. But he's in a physical series with the Detroit Pistons. He's injured now. Now they have to go on the road, and potentially go to a Game 7 if Detroit pulls it off tonight. So I agree with you, Steve. I thought Detroit might be able to make this interesting, but it's almost the way the Knicks are losing the games that they have, because every game is like, oh my God, the Knicks might lose this in the fourth quarter. And to their credit, they've been able to pull off more than they haven't, but now it's 3-2. And I think you're absolutely right. I think all the pressure's on New York.
And they really escaped Game 4. Like there's the foul, non-foul, like whatever at the end there, and they escape by the skin, and it's hard. You don't want to put that down to that, I know, but like it's to the point that you thought that they would be playing better in this series, and it's been every game that the Pistons have hung around at least at some point. I think at this point with the Knicks, we're not going to have this conversation today, but everybody's thinking about where's their favorite Giannis destination this summer. No matter what, even if this Knicks teams win this series and then they get smoked by the Celtics, aren't they the number one team? Who cares if you put this team together last year? Clearly, this is not the vision that the Knicks had coming into this season. And does this team get better next season after this? Like, this is the thing about this is no matter what happens, they could win this game and beat the Pistons, move on, and then the only way you feel good if you're a Knicks fan, I believe, is if you are if you beat the Celtics. Like, even if they take it to 7, like are the Knicks going to be happy with moral victories at that point? I feel like with everything you put together, they have to win that series. Otherwise, you have to look at some kind of big material roster change, or you don't have to, but they're going to. Like, that's just what it seems like they're sizing up to do. This Pistons
But to be fair, they have made those roster moves, right?
That's what I mean.
They built this roster to beat the Celtics. That's kind of what they kind of jokingly called this team. This is the Celtics beater right here. And they went and they got Cat, right, to give them another offensive weapon size. They got Mikal Bridges, who, it's not like too long ago, about 2 years ago, this guy was playing like a all-NBA type player in Brooklyn. Like they went and got Mikal Bridges, they got OG Anunoby for that lockdown defense. Jalen Brunson has emerged as that start. Like, they have crafted this team. They have done what New York Knicks fans want them to do, and that's go out and get players. And it just feels like, I don't even want to say the chemistry is not there. It's just so inconsistent at the end of games where I feel like they just don't have a flow. And it's funny because, right, we were jokingly calling them the Nova Knicks because
Yeah.
Bridges, Brunson, and Hart played together in college. Now trading away DiVincenzo was a decision, I guess, and maybe they really did kind of need that scoring off the bench. But Cat, we all talked about, had an unbelievable year this year, arguably one of his best seasons of his career, and it just. You get to the playoffs, and it just feels like everything they've done in the regular season, the way they played, it's kind of changed. And it's funny to me because I thought part of the reason they would dominate the Pistons is because Detroit would play their style of basketball, the style the Knicks like, where they want to play this defensive, physical style. And that's been the case. Detroit's just been better at it than New York. Now, New York's still up 3-2 in the series. I would not be shocked if they won this game and they win it in 6, because I really do feel like they're going to play this like it's a game 7. But regardless, we got to see some more, offensive flow or just getting the guys involved. We see it kind of early game, but late game, man, fourth quarter, it's just give it to Jalen Brunson and try to draw a foul, and you just can't do that, especially against a Pistons team that's as tough as they are.
Yeah, and it's strange, man. I don't know. I find myself just kind of shrugging my shoulders in the fourth quarter of every game this series. And for the Pistons, like you said, Steve, like we got to give their defense credit, and I'm gonna give their offense a little credit because we know how good Cade is, and we joked, and I think it was fair to joke coming in about the Tim Hardaways of the world and the Tobias Harris, because Tim Hardaway, he shot 2 of 10 last game, so it's not.
Oh, he still stinks. That guy still stinks.
But like the fact that Dennis Schroeder is like a legit guy in this series, like that's troubling if you're a Knicks fan or a Knicks player. And Malik Beasley, obviously was up for 6th man of the year and had a great, incredible season. But people were like, oh, guys like that, like that's not what's going to help you advance in the playoffs. But that's what's happening right now.
Right.
And Jalen Duren, like he's just nasty, man. Like this guy's
great.
A legit, solid big man on winning teams for the next decade plus, probably. Just 9 points, 14 rebounds, nothing pretty about it, but helps this team win and seems to do all the little things. So, and then Asir Thompson, I can't believe I didn't start with him. Like he looked like his brother the other night. He looked like Amin because he had 22 points, shot 8 of 10. Like they just have guys that are stepping up. I hope this goes 7s because I've enjoyed watching this series, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Pistons get it done and force Game 7. You guys feel the same, or you think Knicks pull it off tonight?
I think it's going 7.
I'm going to take the Knicks tonight because I think the Knicks are going to play like it cannot go 7. This can't go 7. And I think sometimes, over the course of history, we see when a team gets that kind of emotional road win in Game 5 to get the series to 3-2, and everyone's like, oh, it's going to go 7, it's going to go 7, it's going to go 7. And the more talented team just wins Game 6. And we've seen it a lot. So that's kind of where I'm leaning the Knicks here.
All right, yeah, so we'll see. Knicks Pistons tonight. Going to be interesting. Biggest thing I'm looking for is what does Brunson look like physically? Because even if they do get it done tonight and he doesn't look right, like it's bad news.
I don't think they have a chance against Boston.
I love
that. Absolutely not.
I don't think they have a chance against Boston. Especially the way Tatum's been playing too these playoffs.
The only hope is the Knicks.
Derek White.
The only hope is they can get a game so that Boston doesn't get like 2 weeks off. That's my hope. One game, I'd be happy. I have no faith in this Knicks team at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough the way they look now, and then I would argue they looked better in the regular season, and they got swept by Boston in the regular season. So
Exactly.
Boston and Cleveland are going to have a 2-week vacation while the Western Conference playoffs are going on.
While the Nuggets and Thunder are in like the best series we've ever seen in our lives.
The West is just in a
Donovan Mitchell's going to be
absolute war, and they're just really like, we'll go on a vacation for a couple weeks.
The first 2 teams to go to Cancun while they're still in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. They got just a nice week of rest while the West is battling it out.
That's too good. Nuggets Clippers also tonight. Denver leads 3-2. This is another one where I talked about it going into the playoffs. I really like both these teams going in, so I didn't want to see them play in the first round because that means one of them has to go home. And I don't think we expected Denver to be up 3-2 at this point. And they are, and it was on a fucking it was on an insane shot by Jokic that Gordon caught an air ball and dunked it. But here we are. Russ was fucking awesome last game. And now the Clippers' backs are against the wall because James Harden didn't really show up, which we're kind of used to at this point. But even still, this Clippers team, I would have thought they kind of had the handle on this series, but that is not the case. What are you guys thinking tonight?
Well, I think we all need to apologize to Jamal Murray. I feel like every year he tricks us, almost kind of the point with Jimmy Butler, where like, oh, this guy's kind of going downhill. He's checked out, like he might not be the same player. And then he gets to the postseason, Dunny. And this guy is averaging 20, almost 25 points a game, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 48%, 44% from three. He dropped 43 points in game 5 and just took the soul out of the Clippers. I mean, it was an incredible performance. And he's another guy, too. Like, it's not an easy 43 when you watch Jamal Murray score 43. You know what I mean? Like, some times, like Luka is a perfect example. Have a 25 points in a game where, like, he didn't really play great. He just kind of went to the line. Like, it's just kind of like a bad 25. When Jamal Murray scores, like, 25 points, he earns it. These are tough shots. These are that quick step back, the side, like, shooting from the side, hitting the three. And that was a Jamal Murray masterclass in Game 5 against the Clippers, where he dropped 43 points. Like I said, it was not an easy 43. He earned all of it. It kind of felt like Kawhi's Game 2. You know how Game 2, Kawhi just kind of willed the Clippers to the win. He was making every shot was contested, but it was still falling. That's how it felt for Jamal Murray Game 5. And I feel like we just have to apologize to Jamal Murray because every single year we're like, oh, the Nuggets aren't as good as they have. They've lost talent. And then we get to the playoffs, and granted, Jokic is still averaging a 25-point triple-double in the playoffs.
Like
25, 13, and 11. At this point, we've become numb to it, which is absolutely crazy. But when you watch the game, right? When you watch the game, you'll be watching for about 2 quarters and be like, wait a second. Is Jamal Murray the best offensive player on this team? Like that's how good he gets in the playoffs, where Jokic, as good as he is, can just for a couple quarters be like, I'm just going to pass it a little bit, little pick and pop here. Well, I'll let Murray kind of do his thing. And he does. And I'll be the first one to admit, I didn't expect to see it this postseason. And I didn't expect to see it, previous postseasons. But every single year, it feels like Jamal Murray, regardless of how he looks in the regular season, regardless of how he looks down the stretch of the season, when the playoffs, it's just like, it just snaps, right? It's just like a light just clicks, it just flicks, and he's ready to go. And Game 5 was very, very, very impressive. However, this Clippers team, man, I'm still not losing faith. I'm not losing faith in Kawhi, and we saw what happened last time. Nuggets had a good win. Kawhi kind of bounced back. That Game 4 could have gone either way, as you talked about it, Dunny. The Aaron Gordon, dunk on a Jokic, which he admitted was a miss too, which was the best thing ever. Yeah. He actually admitted it was a shot, which I loved. That went in with 0.1 seconds, right? That doesn't go in. Who knows what happens at overtime? We could be talking about a completely different series. But it did go in, and then Murray had his masterclass. I think the Clippers, they fight back. This series has to go 7 because this has been the series keeping the first round of the NBA playoffs alive, and it's been incredible.
Yeah, it does feel like what you just said kind of was going to be my whole thing. So you put it nicely there at a bow at the end, Steve. They got the lucky game. They got 2 lucky games, really. Like Murray, we do forget, but they weren't counting on Murray 43 on that exact. So they've gotten 2 swings as you're saying, that are like big swings, but by no means have the Clippers played poorly in this series. Besides Game 5, besides the last game, they played poorly. Now, could that be a sign of a team that's older and it's later in the series and they're starting to fade a little bit more? Like Kawhi only had 20 points in that game too. I was making fun of Harden as much as anybody, but it was both of them looking a little slow, looking a little older. Now, a lot of that, and it could be travel, the travel back and forth, everything else, playing 2 games back to back in Mile High, or going back to Mile High after 2 games in LA. They're back in LA again tonight. You know what I'm excited to see? What the Intuit Dome looks like in a must-win game, because that has been an awesome atmosphere all year long, and this is the biggest game it's ever happened. Like every game going forward will be, but here it's like do or die. What will this crowd do, and how will these guys? We talk about it. Role players shoot better at home. Like, how did the Stars respond better at home? Does James Harden just respond better at home? Like, they really just need one of those guys to kind of bring some juice. And like you guys have said, like, yeah, they're down 3-2, but they could have won this series by now. Like, really, like if they don't lay an egg and they don't let up this historic, ridiculous putback of a play that I've never seen anything like Aaron Gordon was like, he's just out of frame. Like, I didn't even think about him on the court at that moment. And then all of a sudden he's there. So I don't want to, like, I threw some shade at the Clippers the other day. It's just because it's easy. They are not playing poorly. They are not choking this series away. It's just been unfortunate, but tonight at the Intuit Dome, I'm just mostly excited to see what the atmosphere looks like first and foremost, because it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, Steve Ballmer is going to be as red as
James God
sweatshirt right now. It's just going to be screaming down there. Yeah, this feels like a 7 to me, guys. This feels like Clippers win tonight, and then we go to Game 7, because I don't know. Beginning of this series, it was weird. It was kind of hard to get a handle on, but just the games we've had, you mentioned it, Steve. We had a Kawhi game, then we had a Jamal game. We had the fucking weird putback buzzer beater, like you mentioned, Jake. We've never seen that before. It just feels like a 7-game series. So I have the Clippers tonight. You guys agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think this series has to go 7.
Yeah,
but I think I did pick a lock of the Nuggets to cover, because I think this is going to they're not just stomping the Nuggets tonight. Jokic, even if they're up by like 10, I think this game gets close and gets tight late. But I think the Clippers pull it out.
It feels weird that it's 6 points, right? That feels like a lot, which almost makes me want to just bet the Clippers,
right?
Yeah, it makes you want to bet the Clippers, because it just feels like too much, and who's not going to want to take the Nuggets after +6? After seeing the past couple games and how close the series has been. But it makes me want to take the Clippers -6 when I see a line like that, man. Especially it's a must-win game for the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to see James Harden performance, man. I think he, more than everyone else being disappointed.
Which James Harden performance do you want to see?
Oh yeah, no, a
good performance. Okay.
I think he owes it to himself too, man. It's just so strange to see a guy this talented, and I almost was starting to believe that this season, like, it was just different. He was comfortable in LA, playing alongside Kawhi, the way they ended the season. And it's just like he shot 9 times last game. Like, he has to, like, you got to get up more shots if you're James Harden, and especially if you're in a losing spot in the playoffs. So
yeah, man.
I like the Clippers tonight. I like a Harden bounce back, and I think it's going to be tight, like you said too, Jake.
I want to see Norm Powell just light it up. This is a guy who was averaging about 25 a game when Kawhi was out for this Clippers team earlier on, and I know he's kind of taken more of a backseat as a role player now. But man, like, you have a guy like that who's shown he can do that, who's proven to be a weapon. This is a guy who's got to be a threat, and it just felt like he hasn't had too much confidence. He had a couple good games here and there. I want to see Powell light it up for like 6, 7, 8 threes tonight.
I like that. Yeah, lean on him, right? Batum, like all those, Bogdanovich, like those guys should have it going tonight. Like you mentioned, Jake, they're at home. So we'll see. Those are the 2 games tonight. And now let's get into the thick of everything else. Like I said, we'll kind of preview the round 2 stuff towards the end. But let's quickly put a bow on Bucks Pacers, because although it was lopsided, there is a lot of meat on these bones here, guys. So quick recap of Bucks Pacers. Dame, right off the bat, tore his Achilles. I mean, this is just fucking horrible, man. The blood clots rush back, to help the team, and now he has a torn Achilles, which most likely puts him out for the entire season next year too.
I would think so.
Is he done?
He could.
Is this the end of Dame? Because that hurts. An Achilles is not easy for a shooter to come back from, like,
especially at 34.
Yeah, is this like the end of Dame? Because when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, like this might be it.
Yeah,
it might be.
I think like if you're a better, you probably take the done side before a good comeback. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's just tough, and that's everything else kind of stems off of that. Obviously, shout out to the Pacers, they got it done. We'll talk more about them when we preview Cap Pacers, so we can talk a little bit more about where the Bucks go from here. I do want to mention the drama though, because Shams tweeted today that the Pacers told Halliburton's dad he won't be allowed at home or away games due to his altercation with Giannis for the foreseeable future.
Good.
So,
Well,
Mister,
I'm so annoyed with his dad. Like,
oh yeah, I mean,
dude, Halliburton cooked the Bucks at the end of that game and in overtime, end of regulation and overtime. Like, the moment's your son's. Let him have that. Not only that, like, what are you doing? Like, going after Giannis of all guys. Like, Giannis he's a competitor. Don't get me wrong, but outside of the game, he's one of the friendliest guys you'll see. And my favorite part about that is after that altercation, and everything, Giannis went up and dapped up all the other players before he left the gym. Like, he's still like, what are you doing going after? Also, too, Halliburton's dad. You're lucky that you went after Giannis in the public eye, where there's cameras everywhere in a public setting. Because if you're not doing that on the street, and you're not going up to Giannis like that on the street, Halliburton's dad. Give me a break. But it just pisses me off because he kind of like stole the spotlight and the storyline from his son, who was called the most overrated player in basketball not so long ago. He tweeted, now I don't know if you guys saw, Tyrese Halliburton tweeted about that, of who's overrated now. Good for him, too.
Yeah.
Terrible adjustments by Milwaukee. I mean, that's kind of expected when you have the coach that you have in the postseason. But, I mean, he absolutely cooked them. He owned that moment, and that was going to be everything we were going to be talking about from this series up until, the next series when Indiana plays. And Halliburton's dad had to ruin it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, man?
It was a little reminiscent of Patrick Mahomes Sr., just like kind of sticking his nose in, like starting drama. Like, just, that's great that you want to be there and support. It's even better if you want to be there and celebrate. And you can even be a little bit obnoxious, but what he did is just, I mean, like no one should be doing that. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Michael Jordan's dad, whoever.
Tatum's dad? He'd be able to get away with that for you, Dunny?
No. No, but yeah, that's my point. Like, you can't do it, dude. It was embarrassing. Obviously, like you said, it's just pick your battles too. I mean, even if this wasn't an embarrassing thing, it's like, really, you're gonna go after Giannis? Giannis was talking to the top of your head, dude. Like, he could have picked you up by your shirt if he wanted to. But yeah, it was strange, and I think I can honestly say I don't think I've ever seen an organization ban a player's dad from attending games before. We're getting a little bit of everything we've never seen in these playoffs, guys. A putback dunk for the win, and dads being banned. But a few minutes here on the Bucks' future. I know, Jake, you kind of mentioned it with the Knicks. That's obviously a destination. I'm sure Knicks fans are salivating just hearing that from any media outlet, let alone this podcast. But where do you guys think? You guys think Giannis is a Buck? No way, or where are we at?
I don't think he's a Buck. I think there's a lot of options for Giannis, and it's going to be a quite the haul to get Giannis, obviously. But I mean, you can't think he's a Milwaukee Buck. First off, Dame injury or not, like Dame was getting older and Dame wasn't the same player he was. Now you're not going to have Dame next year. And like I said, I don't even think you have him rest of his career. Right. Kyle Kuzma, I mean, what was he doing in Milwaukee? He's running track in half the games when he came to Milwaukee.
He wasn't even playing him by the end of the series.
No, not at all. And just kind of the way they lost these games against Indiana, especially Game 5, how they lost it. They were up 7 in overtime with 39 seconds to go, and they lost that game. Gary Trent was hitting great shots, but then he dropped the ball out of bounds. And, I don't want to just say Gary Trent is the reason they lost. I think the defensive schemes that Doc had for Milwaukee was laughable at the end, where Giannis is your best rim protector and you have him guarding Halliburton on the outside. And as soon as Halliburton, who's faster than Giannis, a little quicker, gets by him, there's just no help. Don't understand that at all. It also happened about 3 times where you knew Indiana was doing the same thing over and over again. They're just going to have Halliburton kind of try to cross someone up and drive, and there was no defensive help. And Milwaukee's offense, in the playoffs was, all right, Giannis, do everything, and then we'll have Gary Trent, Kevin Porter Jr., Merrill try to hit threes. That's the offense. And there's not enough talent around there in Milwaukee, and they're getting older. And if you're Giannis, there's no reason to stay in there. You shouldn't feel bad about leaving. You got them the championship. You've always said how you wanted to stay loyal. You got them the championship. They tried. Milwaukee made an effort to try to get players to, come to Milwaukee and play with you. It just didn't work out. And the big one they went to go get you just ruptured his Achilles, right? And he's going to be out for probably all of next year, maybe his career. So there's no shame in Giannis leaving, and it's the perfect time to leave because there's a ton of younger teams that have a lot of assets and a lot of draft picks that would love to make a splash like this.
Yeah, and even if that's what Giannis wants, like you'd like to think that if the Milwaukee front office is using their brain, like
absolutely
they have to do it too, man. Like they can't wait. They can't just be complacent and be like, oh, we have Giannis, we'll be competitive. The Orlando Magic are coming. The Indiana Pacers are here. The Knicks have the flexibility to at least remain as good or get better. The Detroit Pistons are here. Like the Eastern Conference has some young up and coming teams, and one of them just knocked you out. So, like they kind of have to do this too. They trapped themselves a little bit, just starting from acquiring Drew Holiday, then to trading Drew Holiday, and then to trading for Dame. Like they put themselves in a hole asset wise, and looking at the roster they sent out there in Game 5 and what that could look like next year, like it's a scary thought for Bucks fans. But I'm with you guys. Like this team probably will and probably should look drastically different next year.
And the Hall is a big question because there's, like you said, there's so many different options, both of you guys, and you could do picks, and there's a lot of great draft picks out there. Like there's some Suns first rounders out there that like Houston owns and other teams own. OKC, we have to mention OKC. I mean, even if they win the title this year, I think you have to mention them. Listen, if you can put Giannis and SGA together, they can't use all those picks, Steve.
If you win the title, though, if you win the title, I don't think they want to blow up any part of their current roster.
If you win.
That's fair. But
I don't even think they do it if they go to the title.
I don't know about that. They got 1 million picks. They got to do something with them.
I get they have 1 million picks, but they're going to have to include Chet or Jalen. They're not going to be able to not include one of those two. And OKC is so built on chemistry, Jake.
I would trade Chet for Giannis.
I would too. I would too. I don't think OKC would with that and everything else. Like, let's say just a bunch of picks, Case and Wallace, Chat, whatever. Because the timeline doesn't really line up so much. Also, the chemistry they have is incredible. I think Houston would be more likely to deal for Giannis.
Oh, Houston's very likely. That's very likely, and they have Suns picks. That's the team I'm looking at is Houston. Detroit is an interesting team as well. Anybody but Cade go to pair with Cade. I could see that. There's a lot of options out there. The Spurs,
San Antonio. What about Fox, Wemby, Giannis?
They really have a clean cap sheet besides Wemby and Fox. And Wemby's deal is minuscule on the rookie deal, obviously, right now.
You got podcast on a rookie deal.
Yep.
They could do Castle, their 2 first rounders from this year, and something else.
It just depends. What does Milwaukee want? Do they want young star back that they can market? Then maybe you're looking at Jalen Green return and picks or something. Do they want 1 million picks and the best possible lottery tickets, and then just match some salaries, and then who knows where you're going with it? So it really depends how the front office wants to do this rebuild. I think, Steve, I'm aligned with you. I think the Rockets, honestly, any star this summer, the Rockets are going to probably be at the top of that list just because we've seen their struggles scoring the basketball in this series, even though they had a great game 5.
Giannis or no Giannis, is Milwaukee a playoff team next year?
Giannis, with Giannis, they'll make the playoffs. They will.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good enough to carry them to,
one more team,
6, 7 seed.
One more team, Atlanta. We have
I love
to talk about
Atlanta.
Atlanta. If they could trade Jalen Johnson, he is a great piece that Milwaukee could put as a star. And if you put Trey with Giannis, that's kind of the idea that Milwaukee had with Dame. Except you had a younger guy who's probably is a longer shelf life.
Trade race this year, right?
Yeah, that too.
Trade. I mean, the way he ended this year, yeah. I think Atlanta's going to try to make a splash because I know a lot of people don't kind of see it. I really like what Atlanta's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
The players they have. Like you said, Jalen Johnson, his injury takes away from how good of a season he had. He would have won Most Improved Player of the Year. Dyson Daniels was an absolute steal that they got from New Orleans.
Absolutely.
And Trae Young's great. Trae Young's great. I know he gets hated on a lot, but Trae Young's unbelievable. Who else is getting you 27 and 10 assists a night, right? So Atlanta would be a perfect thing to go get kind of a superstar to go along with Trae.
2 more.
Okay.
I want us to think about Orlando as well. It would be bailing on your timeline. It would be accelerating your timeline. Say we want to be. We think that Boston. Whatever happens in the summer with you guys, we think Cleveland's sweet if we have scoring. We know we can beat the Knicks if we had Giannis. That would be the thing. The other one I have to put in, and this is not just bias. I think we have to really consider this because Giannis is going to determine where he wants to go. A lot of this too, right? Like they're not going to send Giannis somewhere he doesn't want to go. When Giannis left. Or when Giannis came to Milwaukee, he talked about how everybody was like, oh, I don't like big market wise. I don't really care about a big market necessarily. Like Milwaukee is like, this is home to me. Like this is a metropolitan. This is a metropolis to me. Everything else. I do know a city he loves though, that is not far away. That has been just treading water, has picks, has contracts to trade, and needs a star desperately. The Bulls, I think, have been waiting for this Giannis thing. I really think that my tin hat conspiracy theory is that the Bulls' curious moves the last 2 years to keep big contracts on this team and keep contending and everything else has been because there's always been we've heard and I know we've talked about on this podcast before the little rumors and Giannis mentioning Chicago and how much he liked it and everything. Yeah. That is the one sleeper that I think you have to watch out for is the Bulls because it would make a lot of their curious moves make sense if all of a sudden it's like that they're going all in on Giannis this summer.
What would they give up in your mind?
They would have to give up Buzelis, probably Giddey. They'd probably have to give up basically any good player on there. It'd be Kobe White and Giannis. And then hope you can get some free agents to come in and build a team around that, That's really the only hope, I think.
I like that one.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
I mean, I don't think Bulls management is that smart, but that
no, I don't either. That's the flaw in my conspiracy is giving them that much credit.
But that very.
But is it a smart thing? Is it actually smart to delay your team build for 2 years just for the possible chance of getting Giannis? Unless Giannis has told them, listen, if it doesn't work out by X year. In some ways, or like LeBron James did, basically 6-7 years ago to go to the Lakers. Everybody knew he was going to the Lakers beforehand because he told them he was going. It's not out of that realm of possibility that Giannis has sneakily told the Bulls, "Hey, I will force my way to Chicago, keep it open, keep the doors open," and that's the way they've done it. I don't think it's actually what happened, but I do know he's very fond of the city, and he'd only have to move an hour and a half south. You would think that is like. Not a culture shock for him, like with a guy that talked about how much that matters to him. We'll see. Where Giannis wants to go is so important to this conversation, too. Though.
Agreed. Absolutely. Yeah, he definitely has the most leverage. So it's going to be an interesting summer. A lot of trade rumors this summer. So I guess, I don't know. I don't know what Bucks fans are feeling. I'm sure it's not good. Hope nothing but the best for Dame. And
True.
This is going to be a strange looking Bucks team next year, but that's the NBA. Sometimes life comes at you fast. Champions, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
And now here they are. Probably going to have to blow the whole thing up. So that was Bucks Pacers. We'll talk Pacers in a little bit towards the end here. Let's talk Warriors Rockets, guys. This was another game from last night. Rockets extend this one. Do you guys think this is going the distance, or do the Dubs close this one out on the or at home?
Yeah, they'd be at home game 6. I think I don't know if they close it out in 6. I just don't think you're going to get two bad Steph Curry games in game 6, game 7, and I'm gonna trust Curry against a inexperienced Rockets team that has looked great at times, but also times can be a little inconsistent with who is our primary scoring option. Perfect example is a game they won by 15 over the Warriors last night. Their leading scorer was Fred VanVleet. Some nights it's him. Some nights it's Jalen Green. Some nights it's Sengun. Thompson will have his moments too. I think Dylan Brooks scored 24 last night as well. So sometimes I just got to trust Golden State. Jimmy Butler hasn't really looked the same since he's come back, which is concerning. But I think the Warriors will be able to get at least one game, and I believe game 6 is Friday night, right? Friday night in Golden State. It's hard to think Houston's going to win that one too. But I will say, this Rockets team, man, they are tough. And if they get by Golden State, which very well could happen, we got a fireworks round 2 series with Minnesota and Houston. And the Rockets, they are tough. They don't go down without a fight. Amen Thompson is quickly turning into one of my favorite players to watch. He is just an absolute dog on defense. He's really starting to hone his offensive skills this year too. I don't know if there's anyone in the NBA more athletic than Amen Thompson, though. Every time he does something that I'm just like, I've never seen this type of athleticism before. It's fun, man. They've been a fun team. I don't know if they're going to be able to win, because if they win the series, they got to win 2 more. That's 3 straight against the Warriors and against Steph Curry, who is known for, just winning a playoff game in series by himself when he's just like, I'm just going to look at the basket and it's going to fall in. And he had 13 points in game 5. I don't think he played great the game before. I don't think you're going to get 2 more bad Curry performances in a row.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think last night was the Rockets' last gasp kitchen sink game. Throw everything at them to survive. I honestly think the Warriors are going to run away with this game tomorrow. I could see it being the whatever ace in the hole defensive game plan Kerr has. I'm sure that he hasn't used it yet because he hasn't really needed to. They've just missed a bunch of shots. I don't anticipate the Rockets being able to score with the Warriors at home. Like you said, the role players are going to step up. Curry's not going to shoot poorly the next couple games. Jimmy's going to hit a couple more shots, and he's had a couple more days to get healthier. It feels like that. But this Rockets team, as you guys are both saying, so much fun. And as we're talking about the Giannis conversation, maybe a Booker trade, any star that comes up, the bones of this team, all they need is just really, it's like the most fun team you could possibly look at. Exactly. You just have to add one guy, and it's hard to get one of those guys. But if they can find a way to get one of those guys who just in a tight moment, in a clutch moment, go get a bucket, like you said at the beginning of this, Steve, it's bore out exactly how the series bore out exactly how you thought. And I thought that they could kind of get by without it with the Warriors. And credit to the Warriors and credit to Jimmy and Steph for just being able to be superhuman in enough moments, and the role players have played good too. But the Rockets, Pods has been awesome, but the Rockets it's so painful watching them play offensively. And I just feel like if they had the one, son that they could center around, all those guys look so much better too. Like then Van Vliet can look like a second rate star, like next to a guy like he has in the. It's just they're like all their guys are just one roll too high, and it's very fun to watch. And Ime gets the most out of everybody. But this team, if they are to get an A-tier superstar, or Thompson takes that step even, it's scary. It's scary. They're so much fun, and they play so hard. And either way, whoever wins this series, you want to talk about a war. No matter who wins, if it's the Warriors or the Rockets, it's going to be chippy with the Timberwolves from game 1 on. And I can't wait to see it.
Do you guys So it was pretty clear the Warriors waved the white flag last night at a certain point in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And, what I've heard today, listening to different podcasts, reading stuff, people are talking about how they waved the white flag like halfway through the third quarter. But the broadcast was talking about it in the second quarter, basically about like how the Warriors don't really care about this game. They know they have two more shots to close it out, one of those being at home. And they're not really worried. I don't know. Maybe it was just because I was watching the game intently as a fan and I wanted a good game.
Hmm.
I didn't like it, dude. I don't care that this team's old. I this is kind of like playing with your food to me. Like I don't like, and I get it. I know it's Steve Kerr. I know it's Steph Curry. I
Yeah,
know it's Draymond Green. I know these guys have been there before.
right.
It just, I don't know. Part of it, it was just, it's like the basketball gods thing. It just had little bad vibes to me. Like playing Draymond 18 minutes, Steph 23 minutes. It's like we know how the NBA is. You can go down 20 and still win a game. We've seen it in the playoffs. The Celtics were down at half to Orlando and won by 30 the other night. I don't know. It was just weird to me. I was wondering what you guys thought about it.
I think you kind of laid it out perfectly, Dunny. It's the experience of the Warriors with their head coach and their star players in the core, Draymond, Steph, who have been there, that know that this is not a one game. This isn't college basketball where it's one game you got to win. This is a series. It's best of seven, and a series is a war, not a battle. And you are going to lose battles, and we've seen even in Warriors championship runs, they will have a game where they just get crushed.
Mm-hmm.
Steph and Clay just aren't hitting that night, and they just get absolutely run out of the gym. And the Warriors, unlike a lot of teams, they are pretty good at kind of knowing when, all right, this is our chance to try to get back in the game, get the momentum, make a bunch of shots, or it's just like, all right, we just don't have it tonight. And I think age plays into that a little bit, but I also think experience too. And I get what you're saying about playing with your food. And I'm in the mindset that you always want to try to win every single game. But you kind of saw in the first half, they just didn't really have it. The second quarter was one of those quarters where it was just, getting out hustled, outworked. Houston was extending their lead. And I think Steve Kerr probably in the locker room, not necessarily said, all right, we're giving this game up, but it's like, we'll see what happens. Maybe we make a couple shots. A couple shots didn't fall at the start. And then next thing you're taking guys out and you're looking ahead. And I understand saying playing with your food. That would be if it was like Indiana that did it, or if it was like, if Houston did it one game, right? Because Houston's kind of been known in the regular season when they're down by like 10 with like 3 minutes to go. They're like, just bring the backups in. Like, this game's washed. Playoffs, totally different story. I'm not saying Houston does that. But I'm just saying to be a different situation if Houston was the team that did it. Golden State's won a few championships. Steph Curry's had a few long playoff runs. Steve Kerr, I get people say he was gifted a great roster and Hall of Fame players. He's a pretty good coach when it comes to adjusting and kind of knowing how the flow of the game is going. I wouldn't consider it playing with your food. I think it's them just kind of knowing their age, knowing their roster. And you talked about it too. Jimmy Butler was bad, and he hasn't looked great since he came back from his injury. This was an opportunity to maybe give him a little bit more rest. Give him a little bit more rest. They knew they had another day of rest in between games.
I guess my thing is too, it's like, if you're doing it for rest, you're also, by waving the white flag last night, guaranteeing you're playing at least one more game for those guys.
Right.
And maybe two if you lose at home, and then you're in a fucking nightmare situation.
Right, but
so it's just like,
I don't think they saw I guess a high percentage chance of a pathway to a win in that game.
Yeah. No,
I
think you're right.
That's where I think.
It was just like, it's easier to see today, but watching it is really when I had these thoughts. I'm like, oh, and you're right. It is all about the pedigree, the championships, the cohesiveness, the chemistry of this group. Like, they probably shouldn't be worried. It was just a little weird as a viewer.
Yeah, I mean, it's another thing. They're up 3-1 in the series, right? In that game too. And like I said, I think Curry is 5 of 17 from 3 in the last 2 games. Let's just play things regressing to the mean. don't think he's going 5 of 17 in Game 6 and Game 7 if needed. And I wouldn't be surprised if Curry has like an 8 for 13 from 3 game
I was gonna say
tomorrow.
we should probably bet Curry's threes
I,
tomorrow.
I,
Yeah, let's do it.
I feel like, yeah, you know, you just talked about, right? They kind of waved the white flag. They're looking to Game 6. This is an experience, a championship DNA type team. And now you got a home game. Your best player's kind of been slumping. I think he had 13 points last game. Hasn't been shooting well from 3 of the past 2 games. A night of rest. Curry's dropping 40. Let's just say what it is, Dunny. He's probably scoring 40 points tomorrow night.
Yeah, you're probably right. No, I definitely get that side of it too. Jake, you have any thoughts on this?
It's really weird, and I think it's maybe it was an offhand comment get made to Reggie or something, but also just feels like something weird Reggie Miller would say because he just says strange things sometimes too. But it does feel like the Warriors. That does happen. They float. The Warriors have always floated around. I mean, even at the peak of the Warriors was, they're down by 15 at halftime, and then the third quarter Warriors come out like this. They've always had this on and off switch, and I wouldn't be surprised if they came into this game with little to no game plan and were like, we would, the rest is more important with 2 chances, because they have to look at it like that. Their 3 guys are all old. If they go 7 in this series, if they're planning to go deep in this series, like Jimmy's already hobbling around. If one other thing happens to them, they're on the edge here. Even if they get through this series, like as we talked about with the Wolves, that series is going to be a war. Whoever goes to play the Wolves has to know what they're getting into. So maybe it is a little looking ahead from the Warriors, but I don't know if it was Reggie who said it, so I don't want to just jump out. But if it was Reggie, Reggie, I feel like always says some out of pocket stuff like that. I'm just like, what are you talking about, bro? And then I move on.
Not the biggest fan of Reggie on the broadcast. I don't remember.
I'm not either.
One last thing here, unless do you guys have any closing thoughts on Warriors Rockets? I just have a really kind of bizarre trade idea for the Rockets, regardless of what happens. But if you guys have closing thoughts, so you guys think Dubs get it done?
I do. I do. Even if it's not Game 6, I think they're not going to lose 3 straight. I think they do win Game 6 though.
You too, Jake?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I think Warriors get it done. I don't know. I just want all these series to go 7 that I don't have, a horse in the race, because I just want more playoff basketball. But, I lean Warriors here as well. Trade idea, though, for the Rockets, real quick. If you're the Houston Rockets next year, why wouldn't you be trading for a Sir Thompson? Why, these 2 brothers should be playing together.
No, they play too similar. You don't want 2 guys like that on the court at the same time. Not just that, but you have to build a roster, construct it, perfectly. We want to win a championship. A Sword Thompson and Amen Thompson, I don't want to say they would take away from each other if they were on the same team, but they do a lot of the same things that you need. You kind of only want one of those guys. Yeah. It's not like one of them's like a sharpshooter from 3 right now. They're developing their offensive game, but it's not like lights out from 3. Amen Thompson can have his moments where he can kind of take over scoring. Asor hasn't really had that to this point yet. But my issue, Dunny, is just like if you're playing that, you're either kind of playing a little smaller and playing them at 3-4, or you're playing them at the 2-3 and really limiting your outside shooting ability. And I get it. It would be awesome to see the brothers play together. I mean, their overtime elite clips are absurd. So sick, yeah. So much fun to watch. If you haven't, just go watch them because it's wild. But I don't think the fit would be as great, in the actual game than if you just thought about the type of players that they are.
Yeah, I guess I'm more thinking this is post them making a big splash for another star, so they've already kind of blown up the nucleus a little, and then you get a Sir Thompson as a bench piece. So I wasn't thinking about them starting next to each other. Just because, and I'm saying the Rockets going after Asur and not the Pistons going after Amen, because right now, if you're trying to get Amen Thompson, you're paying a huge fucking package to try to get that dude. Sir, like you mentioned, he really hasn't had the coming out party that Amon has. His skills aren't as polished. You might be able to get him on the cheap this summer. It's a it's a little more of a fun trade, but this is on this is if they blow it up, bring in a star, need more pieces, like that would just be fun. Kind of like how the Morris brothers were on the Suns at the same time. But
that would be fun. It'd be great for vibes. I agree.
Yeah.
Vibes would be all time. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe they would bicker. Who knows? They seemed like when they were coming out that they were doing the interviews together. They were like finishing each other's sentences and stuff. It is kind of crazy to like not see them together anymore after like getting used to being around them.
Last thing on that too, it's like maybe after this playoff runs, Sir could be untouchable to the Pistons because he had a good game last game, and depending on where this next series goes, and they might just look at his brother and be like, "Oh, we have the other one of those guys. Like we should probably hold on to him." Anyway, shout out the Thompson brothers. we got to get into the nasty stuff now, boys.
Yeah, let's do it.
Lakers get sent home in a gentleman's sweep. It was the Rudy fucking Gobert game, guys.
That's all you need to say. That's all you need to say about how this series went.
27 points, 24 rebounds, and 2 big blocks. Rudy Gobert, man. I got to give him flowers, guys. We have to do it. We've shit on him for years since the genesis of this podcast, going back to his Utah days and basically being unplayable in the playoffs next to Donovan Mitchell. And here we are. He's the hero. He was the hero last night. He made some huge impact plays. The Lakers continued to stick to their small ball, and it just did not work. Wolves exposed it. I mean, I shouldn't say Rudy was the hero because I actually think Randall was down the stretch of this game. But
who was the MVP of the Timberwolves in the first series? If you had to pick one. I know Ant had probably the best numbers. His shooting wasn't the best, but he averaged, I think, like 27, 8, and 6.
I think it's
only
still
shot
Ant.
42%.
I would say not.
I think it's
Randall.
I think it's still Ant because he's the engine. Without him, they're not doing anything in that series. I think he draws so much like away that he's got to be the MVP.
Agreed. Jaden McDaniels though was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Unbelievable. His scoring stepped up. He averaged 17 a game. He was locking down Luka. He was locking down LeBron. He was great on the glass too. I mean, the whole Timberwolves team was great on the glass. But this just goes back to the Los Angeles Lakers, biggest weakness, and when the trade got, nullified, but if they had Mark Williams, it's a completely different series. If that trade goes through, you trade Connect for Mark Williams. This is a completely different series because you have a big out there. Guys, I'm sorry. I love him, but you can't play Dorian Finney-Smith. You just can't play him and have him be one of your big men with Rui Hachimura and LeBron, Luka, and Reeves. That's not a big enough lineup.
How about Gabe Vincent? You think he had some size?
Well, this is what got me upset, is the fact that
I could go off about
Finney-Smith fouls out. Finney-Smith fouls out. You are down, I think, 15 in the rebounding margin at this point. You're getting crushed on the offensive glass, not just in Game 5, but in the entire series. And you bring in Gabe Vincent. Guys, as bad as, I think the Lakers kind of were in this series, and Reeves had a really bad serise. I'm not going to excuse him. Luka was terrible on defense, and I'm not going to excuse him because he was bad. He was lazy on defense. And I as someone who watched Luka all the last year and all the past 5 years, Luka knows he's not quick enough to, guard guys. He can get in your face. He can use his big body, but once you blow by him, he expects a big to rotate there. That's just how the Mavs had always played defense, and that's kind of how they had the deep run they did in the playoffs. You have, a Lively or Gafford there or PJ on the rotate. Lakers didn't have that. They didn't have that for LeBron. LeBron's defense was terrible in this series too. The Lakers as a whole, their series was terrible. Their game plan was terrible. Their scheme was terrible. They got kind of saved sometimes by just some wild shots that LeBron and Luka were making in certain games. And in Game 4, you could have called the foul on McDaniels on Luka late in the game. The Lakers had a horrible end to that game, but they really could have won that game. That game could have gone either way. It is what it is. But the whole series, there was two things that were consistent. Two things. No, well, three. You can say Lakers' bad defense is one, but we already talked about that. Number one, Minnesota dominated the glass on both the offense and the defensive side. And number two, the person who is at fault for this, JJ Redick, made zero adjustments. There was zero subs, zero depth, no offensive changes, no defensive changes. This right here, in my opinion, is a fireable offense of how badly he botched this first round of the playoffs. It was one of the worst coaching performances I think I've ever seen. The Lakers starters played every minute in one game. Every minute. He didn't even think to try to bring in a big. And like you said, Dunny, when Dorian Finney-Smith fouls out, he breaks a Gabe Vincent. That's going to fix it.
Even worse.
It was an embarrassment. It was a coaching embarrassment. And JJ Redick, I think, as bad as everything else with the Lakers was, that's fixed when you have a coach, not a good coach, just a competent head coach. And that playoff series was one of the worst coaching performances I've ever seen on the offensive scheme, the defensive scheme, and the ability to adjust. You let Rudy Gobert get 27 and 24 on you, buddy. Like, how?
The only big he went to was Maxi Kleber, who did not play.
Who doesn't play defense?
With that team and doesn't play defense. That is, and then he went to him like late, and that's like Dunny. I'll let you get. You got things to say about Redick, so I'll let you get it. That was the one thing I wanted to jump in on, at least for this part with Redick, is that I thought coming into this season he was built for this. I thought he was going to be a good coach, and I think he was during the regular season.
Terrible.
Everything you said was fair. Just completely exposed. Chris Finch just coached absolute. And Chris Finch is amazing. Like, I think you guys think highly of him. I think extremely highly of him. Great coach. Circles, levels to this shit. It was crazy. And that is, I agree. If there's some competent coaching, this is at least 6 games. This Lakers team, with that firepower, I know that the limitations defensively were probably impossible to game plan for. There's no reason it should have went this poorly. So I'm in full agreement. But Dunny, I would love to hear what you have to say about our friend Mr. Redick.
Yeah, well, I think Darvin Ham was probably waking up with just a huge smile on his face today. But the JJ thing, man, it really fucking killed me the last couple of days too. And I'm a guy who, Duke, NBA career, broadcasting career, first take stuff, podcasts. Like, I love JJ Redick. I think he's a terrific basketball mind. I think before this series, I really thought he knew his shit. And of course, he still knows way more about basketball than I ever will. But between last night, the collapse in the second half of Game 4 and choosing to play the entire starting 5 for the whole second half, like you mentioned, Steve. And then the biggest thing for me is the pregame presser before last night's game, where he stormed off and scoffed at a reporter who asked a very fair question about playing those 5 starters for the entire second half. It's the media and the NBA playoffs, dude. If you're not prepared for tough questions, then you shouldn't be a head coach in the NBA. Period. This is also a guy who went on First Take a little over a year ago and berated his old coach Doc Rivers for not taking accountability, and then he's doing shit like this in the NBA playoffs. Like, it was just like weird, like corny, non-accountability shit. Like, how are you about to storm off when someone asks a super fair question? And I believe I'm correct on this. I read this the other day that has never been done before in the NBA playoffs. No team has ever played their 5 starters for the entire second half in the NBA playoffs. I know you have Luka, I know you have LeBron, but adjustments have to be made, like you mentioned, Steve. And for him to scoff at it and run off the podium like he's a fucking teenager, dude, with all these emotions, it's like, dude, the emotion shit and the kind of acting childish when you were at Duke, like, that shit played as a player, but you've been around the league for 20 fucking years, dude. Like, you have to know that this stuff doesn't work. You have to be accountable. And even if he said, like, he could have just like fair. I'm sure the question bothered him. It would have bothered me if I made that mistake the last game and got asked that. But he could have said, if we had won, no one would be talking about this because he's right. Well, if he had said that, he would have been right. No one would have been talking about it if they won, but they lost. And these are the questions you have to answer when you lose games. So I just thought it was real Bush League shit the last couple of days by JJ Redick, the way they went out of the series. And I mean, like they just didn't have it. They were losing. They were losing this series no matter what. And I didn't think that going into it, but after seeing 5 games of it, it was very clear they just weren't ready to take on this Timberwolves team.
Right, and the big thing for me is we talked about at the start of the segment, right, where we were saying Rudy Gobert dominated them. If you watched that first half, right? You guys saw the first half. Rudy Gobert was dominating in the first half. If that's happening, you adjust.
Yeah.
You adjust. You bring in a big.
Jackson is getting 0 minutes.
You know Rudy Gobert can't shoot. And you run out the same small ball lineup. The funniest thing, I wish I would have taken a picture of it. It was like the Lakers' 3 keys to the game to win Game 5 that they talked about in the pregame, and they had done none of them. Absolutely none of them. The first one was Austin Reeves has to get in a rhythm. That clearly didn't happen, which is not just Austin Reeves' fault. It's the Lakers' scheme fault, where it just feels like Reeves isn't involved in the offense sometimes, and then they just throw it out to him, all right, kick a 3. Or when he is involved, they were just playing way, way too much iso ball. You have LeBron James and Luka Doncic, right? You have LeBron James and Luka Doncic, 2 of the most offensively gifted basketball players we've ever seen. They should always be touching the ball at least once down the court. You should not have one standing around watching the other one play. And Minnesota leaned right into that. They knew that the Lakers weren't going to pass, and the only time the Lakers were going to pass is when they drove to the lane, got double-teamed, and had to do a circus pass into a 3. That was the only time the Lakers passed. There was no set passing. There was no set passing before that, and that was every single game. And that is fine if it happens in one game, and then you see the adjustment. There was no adjustment from game to game. I'm not even talking from first half to second half. There was no adjustment from game to game on your offense. The defense is inexcusable in itself. Not adjusting first half to second half, right, Dunny? You see a guy's cooking you, or you see the way Minnesota's going in the first half. You watch it with Boston all the time. Boston ran a masterclass on the Orlando Magic being in the game against them in the first half, and then the second half taking the life out of them with their defensive, scheme changes, offensive changes. I mean, Boston was, I think they were down 2, Dunny, in the closeout game against the Magic. I saw Boston was -5.5 live. I go, that's the easiest bet I've ever seen in my life. Took their spread, and by the end of the third quarter, they're up 20.
Steve,
that's what good teams do. That's what good coaches do.
Live line at 30.5.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what good teams do. That's what good coaches do. They adjust. And I'm not giving JJ Redick excuses, right? Because you could say, oh, well, the Lakers didn't have a big, or, oh, well, the Lakers defense was playing bad. You have Luka Doncic and LeBron James. Luka Doncic and LeBron James have figured it out in the playoffs on far worse teams.
Yeah.
Rui Hachimura played fantastic.
I was going to say, imagine if he didn't have the game he had.
Rui Hachimura played fantastic pretty much the entire series. Yeah. And you couldn't do anything. And you didn't adjust. And the one thing that was like even if you didn't adjust anything else, just throw Jackson Hayes in to get a board once in a while. Like I said, it was an embarrassment. It was like the Lakers were playing pickup basketball against a Timberwolves team that wanted it more. That was, how sometimes you play pickup and you got a couple gym class heroes that are running plays and they're saying backdoor cut here and there. And then on the other side, you watch the team kind of walk up and it's just like, all right, this guy's got the ball. He's either going to shoot or try to drive to the lane. That was watching the Lakers. Guys, I played basketball for the first time in a year last night, like 5-on-5 basketball. We were playing full court, 4 games. And by game 4, it was like, all right, we're not running anything anymore. Whoever takes the ball up, they're the ones shooting it or they're driving. That was the Lakers the whole playoff series. Embarrassment.
Yeah. And I listen, I have to be the one to say this. I do. It was not, you can see the stats, you can say whatever you want. LeBron James can't do that anymore. He can't carry you in a playoff series. And if you think that you can just rely on LeBron and Luka to just go out and do shit, it ain't gonna happen anymore. He's old. He's shown age all year long. He's gotten tired at the end of games. He's got this is the first we've been waiting to see this for years, right? Like we've been waiting. Like when's LeBron going to start showing the age really? And this was the first year where I feel like, and there's been signs in the past couple of years. This is the first year I feel like you can say it's down. Everything, just across the board, from the athleticism, for everything. Watched a lot of LeBron. It slipped, and that's what hurt them too. And then you compound that on. So he ain't going to play no defense. You compound that on the fact that Luka's not going to play no defense. You compound that on the fact that Reeves not going to play no defense. You compound that on the fact that you have no interior defense at all. Yeah, they didn't have an option. The Reeves thing is the most disappointing thing to me, though, because you want to talk about a guy who, guys, shit was getting crazy about Austin Reeves. Best third option in the league conversations for months. We were here having that.
You're
once
not wrong.
Luka showed up.
You're not wrong.
He disappeared completely. And what does he do on this team that differentiates enough from Luka and LeBron that he should be on this team anymore? Like Reeves should be, I think, auctioned off to the highest bidder this summer, because he does not benefit this Lakers team in any way, shape, or form anymore. They need defense. They don't need secondary creation. They don't need they will from somebody, but it doesn't need to be a high-paid Austin Reeves. It needs to be like Dennis Schroeder. And then they need to invest all that Austin Reeves money into some interior defense, or honestly, any defense, any kind of defense. They needed perimeter defense too. Like Rui, the DFS is a great perimeter defender. Couldn't do it because he had to protect the paint the whole time, right?
Yeah, he's
Rui is Bill Simmons tweeted about it. He was at the game. He said, "You have to try to rebound to get rebounds," that was the impression I got.
He's not wrong
as well.
That's the one thing too. You're undersized, right? We see this in college basketball all the time. Houston's a great example. Houston is usually undersized in most games they play. Their tallest guys usually 6'7", 6'8". They crash the glass like no other. I am fine with teams playing small ball, playing undersized. Honestly, before they got Hartenstein, when Chet was hurt, OKC was undersized. They didn't get out-rebounded because they attacked the glass. They crashed it. I'm sorry. When you're playing a Minnesota team that crashes the glass and has more size than you, and you're just giving up on possessions, you don't deserve to win. Embarrassing. And that right there goes down to the head coach. That goes to the head coach in my mind. I get the Lakers didn't play great. Luka still gave you 37 and 6 or whatever. He didn't play great at defense. I'm not excusing him for that. That is inexcusable on the coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, they got out-rebounded by 17, and Gabe Vincent played 26 minutes. I'm taller than Gabe Vincent.
Gabe Vincent should not play 1 minute. He shouldn't play 1 minute.
Yeah, it's puzzling, man. It really is. And just one more thing on the Jackson Hayes. Everyone knows what Jackson Hayes is, by the way, right? We know he's not great. You can kind of you can see JJ's vision at the beginning of this series, but the rebounding, and then to give Luka a lob threat, which he thrived on his whole time in Dallas. He had lob threats. The pick and roll worked. Don't you think you'd just give it a fucking shot here?
Absolutely.
Because at least when Gobert's off the floor, at least at some point when Rudy's not on the floor, put Hayes and Luka out and do something. If that was the reason, if you're afraid of him batting up with the bigs, that's one thing, I guess, whatever. But I agree. You had to add the element, especially once you're in game 4, down in the series, down in this game. You're not. It's up in the air. Everything was baffling about this, and it wasn't surprising to see the Wolves last night be able to control the game the way they.
It was just in the scheme, the offensive scheme too. The Lakers are playing 5 out. They were having 5 guys on the court that all just wanted to shoot a 3, and it's all right, Luka drive or LeBron drive, and Minnesota's okay, we're just going to double you. We're just going to double you and then switch on the shooter you kick it to. And it's just, there was no offensive flow. And the reason they could do that is because they knew that Dorian Finney-Smith wasn't a threat to drive it and score on them. He could only shoot 3. That Rui wasn't a threat to drive, that they could, bounce back by the time he drove, and Rudy Gobert would be down low. And Rudy Gobert, as much as we hate Rudy Gobert, guys, the one thing that's been consistent about Rudy Gobert's entire career is he's an absolute interior defensive threat. When he is on the court, he is a threat down low. It changes how guys approach driving. It does. It just does. He won multiple Defensive Players of the Year because of that. And there was nothing for the Lakers that really nullified that threat. It was embarrassing. That's all it was.
Yeah, it really was. And this afternoon I was thinking to myself, like, it's very possible that Luka and LeBron are the only two Lakers that are still on this team next year.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think they're probably gonna keep Reeves. I really do.
I think
Unless
so
they
too, but
go get
it's not a bad
class,
point by Jake.
but
Like,
yeah, it's fair.
If they can't, I mean, he is super talented though. So if they can't get anything to match the talent, it's like they're already at a talent deficiency. So I see it, but it's
Right.
a bad one. It's gross. It's gross looking without a lot of avenues to get better at this point.
the thing they still do have is they still fucking fleece the Mavs. Like the trade was still good, regardless.
Oh yeah.
Regardless of how they went out, they still have Luka. Obviously, he's still got some shit to work on. Obviously, was injured by the end of that game. I think.
The back.
Yeah, he still looked a step slow on defense before that, but that didn't fucking help. So, yeah, it was just tough. It's a sad way for the Lakers to go out.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the season, I was kind of convinced they might be able to make a deep push, but they ran into the Timberwolves and they flipped the switch, and the Lakers kind of got complacent. So,
Yep.
That's that. Yeah, I know we mentioned it talking about Warriors Rockets, but the Wolves are going to be fun to watch for the remainder of these playoffs.
Yeah.
So let's quickly, before we tune off here, just preview the second round. Second round survivors. We have Cavs Pacers, who that series is set. Game 1 is Sunday. Celtics, Thunder, and Wolves have all advanced as well, but they are awaiting their opponents. So Cavs Pacers, Jake, you can start here. Game 1 Sunday. Me and Steve kind of know your thoughts, but let the listeners know as well.
I have tweeted it out a couple times at least too, and in some replies and everything else. I like the Pacers are a good team. I'm really jealous of you, Dunny, that somehow this bracket worked out better. That you got the two teams that I would have rather played in this scenario. So good on you. Good on the Celtics. The Pacers are the best team out of these three. That being said, I'll give a little breakdown of it. I think that the biggest question around the Cavs is the question we've been talking about. I've been talking about all year long. Can Darius Garland play in the playoffs? There was the story of the Heat series where the Heat, now Kyle Anderson comments, they were already pissed at Darius Garland. So why wouldn't he say something like that? Yeah, so how much stock can you take into it? I think
he was more defending hero.
Exactly. But Dunny, if we play in the Eastern Conference Finals, what are the Boston Celtics going to do? The first possession that they have the ball.
Either try to switch Tatum or Brown onto Garland.
Onto Darius Garland. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so this is the series where we start to really find out, because Halliburton is 6'8", 6'7". He's a huge guard. Mathurin, they just have so much size. The Pacers have great size. That is the advantage they have over in the guard, especially specifically on the guard position. That's the advantage that they have in this series, because it's going to make Kenny Atkinson answer the Darius Garland question at some point in this series. Can he play defensively at the end of these games? Personally, I think you have to play him, because I think this team is at its best when he's on the floor offensively. But I think it's going to be a lot of on-off stuff with him late. I think it's going to be Ty Jerome coming on, or Isaac Okoro, or one of the wings coming on for him. With a lot of my Cavs friends want Ty Jerome to just take the spot. I just feel, and I like Ty Jerome's size, but Ty Jerome's he's just not as good as Darius Garland at basically everything. Yeah. So I don't like that trade. If it's trading it off Garland for, if it's, say, the starting lineup is, I don't know who's going to start at the wing, first of all, because they were all over the place. They basically didn't want to give anything away with how they split up the wing minutes. Strus played a bunch one game. Hunter played a bunch one game. Wade played a bunch one game. So it could just be that same way the whole series. But you just have to wonder in those late game scenarios, depending on how like the pace of the game, how high the scoring is, everything else, if Garland is going to be able to do that and how much that affects the Cavs offense if Mitchell's the only creator. That being said, I think Garland's going to be able to play on the floor. I don't think this team can stop. I don't think the Pacers, the one thing that no one's talking about enough, I feel like, and it's not you guys, but then I see people that are discussing the Pacers in this series, they are just not giving the Cavs credit for enough credit for being a historically great offense. The Cavalanche is a damn thing, bro. Like
Yeah,
it's like
is.
they will just go off for a 20-2 run in 4
Mhm.
minutes, and you're like, what happened in this game? I don't think the Pacers can do anything to stop that necessarily in this series the way the Cavs looked last series. So I do think the Cavs can still outscore them. I'm picking Cavs in 5. I think they get it done at home.
Yeah, no, I like everything you said there. And yeah, I think obviously it's become much more of a topic because the Kyle Anderson comments saying that the Cavs might just be better without
And we're
Darius.
just getting
Like,
later on in the series or the
Yeah.
playoffs too. Like the microscope's getting bigger on the Cavs. They're starting to get the attention. So
and I'm gonna pay a compliment to both our teams right now, so don't hear what I'm not saying. But like, I actually do think the Celtics, the last couple of years, kind of going after that Garland matchup in the regular season and a little bit in last year's playoffs. Like, I think that's kind of amplified it. But like, let's not pretend that every team has a five that the Celtics can put out there.
Right.
Like, that only really works if you
exactly.
also have elite options everywhere else. So it's like I don't know. I just don't see like Garland has to be out there. Like bottom line, it's like
Mm-hmm.
yes, can some games he's a net negative on defense, sure, but he also does shit on offense that most guards in the NBA can't do. So it's like, and how many times, like, and how many different decades of the NBA have we seen teams do that trade off
Yeah.
on either side? Like, yeah,
And
there's like,
specifically with this team, like if he's going to be a sieve and just let people, like the thing with Garland is he can just let people, the strategy can be Garland, just let them drive by you, bro. You have two giants that are going to be down
Yeah.
there the whole time. Like
yes,
the Cavs are uniquely positioned to kind of hide the Garland thing too. So that's why it's really interesting, right, Dunny?
Is
Like
he going to be good to
because
go at the start of the series?
I mean, the rest is obviously great. I think it's really just pain tolerance as much as
Mhm.
anything else with him. He was limping around quite a bit though. So, maybe game one, they take it easy on him with everything too. The thing is, the other thing that people don't give enough credit for is so damn hard to win in Cleveland. So you're going in there for
yeah,
those first 2 games, that crowd's going to be
Mhm.
nuts. And Indiana has to take one in Cleveland. Maybe, and I think they can. I do like, I'm saying Cavs in 5. This could go 7 very
No.
easily. I
No.
think you don't think it could, but
Mhm.
I feel better about that then. I just think that there's a scenario where the Garland thing does become a major issue, and Kenny is outcoached by Rick Carlisle, because I truly think that
Uh,
highly of Rick Carlisle. Those are the things that I'm worried about. But Steve, you're reassuring me a little bit by your immediate dismissal of
I,
that
I think
thought.
two things with the Cavs that really impressed me against Miami is the depth is one. That's one thing with this Cleveland team is their depth is ridiculous, and it's something that we haven't seen for a Cleveland team in a while because we always were worried about who are they going to be able to play in the playoffs. Their depth's great; they can get bad scoring, but I think you touched on it too, and I think the reason they can beat Indiana is I think a Cleveland team's kind of more defensive teams, and they just had the defensive player of the year at Evan Mobley. But this is an offensive team. This is a team that can score 80 and a half on you. And you're like, what just happened? They dropped 40 points in the second quarter. And a team that likes to run is the Indiana Pacers. And they were able to run against Milwaukee because Milwaukee couldn't really run with them. You can't really do that against this Cleveland team because they're so good at getting stops and then creating offense for themselves in transition. And I think that's kind of the best way to beat Indiana is to kind of have a play style like that. And that's where I feel like it can get ugly for Indiana, Jake, where if they miss a couple shots or they have a couple bad turnovers, like you said, the Cavs can go on a 20-2 run in a blink of an
Mhm.
eye. And that's something that Indiana can't really stop with their defense. Their defense isn't really great at stopping those runs. You kind of saw Milwaukee, despite losing in 5, the reason they would kind of get back in games, Indiana would be up, and then Milwaukee would kind of go on a run like that because they get a couple defensive stops and be able to run in transition. I just think the Cavs are kind of built as a perfect matchup against Indiana. I think this will probably go 5 because I think Indiana might get one at home. They'll have one of those games where, everything just kind of falls from the outside from them. But, man, dude, you're talking about Indiana team that likes to run in transition. It's a team that likes to kind of rely on the outside shot, playing a team against the Cavs that is so good at stopping that and then creating offense for themselves.
No, that's a great point. The pace that Indiana's plays at could help them, but it also could be the death
kill,
nail in the coffin against the Cavs. Absolutely.
And I think last series for Indiana was a series where Pascal and Miles Turner were able to look real good because they were going up against Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. Those Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are not those guys.
Different story.
Little different.
So I like Cleveland's advantage there, and the way I see this series, I don't think it would go 7. Maybe I think the Pacers could go 6 here. I think it'll be real similar to the Celtics Pacers Eastern Conference Finals last year, where I think a lot of the games will be close. I think Indiana's going to fight. They're not going to lay down. They're going to try to play their style of basketball. They have shooters as well. And they can play a tough game, but I think it will be like that. Like the Celtics still won that series 4-1, but every game was tough. They had an overtime game they had to fight through. Yep. So I think Indiana's good, and they proved that last year. But like you mentioned, Jake, the Cavs are a different animal. Very, very tough to win in Cleveland. I like the Cavs probably in 5 here. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 6.
We're getting there, Dunny. We're almost there.
I am so excited. I'm so excited for that.
I said honestly today, I was very honest. We were talking about this because my friends, my very pessimistic Cavs friend is just like already thinking about next year. He's like, next year's the year. The Celtics are going to get rid of, KP and Drew. The Knicks are blowing it up. It's going to be, I'm like, bro, this is whatever. Like, you got to take advantage, everything. So there is still a lot of Cavs fans doubt in there. If I had to say honestly today, I would pick the Celtics in a series just because the battle tested. That's if you want to ask me my biggest anxiety going forward with the Cavs, it is just the fact that I truly believe everything we've talked about this multiple times on the show too. You got to go through it to get there. And the Cavs, did last year count?
I wouldn't really call that going through.
I know, that's why.
And they didn't
I could see it being a thing where
to go through it last year either.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, who knows? But also on the flip side of that, you have to look at the star player for the team and think about that. And Donovan Mitchell is a guy who's been there, and he could just be the guy that is like. And I mean, honestly, we've seen one example of it in this playoffs already. Game 3, they were up by 25, and they were just like, all right, well, we're done here. Let's go. We're gonna go out tonight. Everything else, game 2. Sorry, game 2. And they're floating through the second half. It gets down to 2 points in the fourth quarter even. But Mitchell, who has 10 points in the first half, ends up with 34 in this game, ends up with 20 points in the fourth quarter, and just decided. And he was not in the flow of the game at all, not doing it. He just decided, guys, what are we doing here? And took it over and closed it out and everything else. That's what encourages me about my anxiety there. But this team as a whole, Garland, Mobley, Allen, who we know, it's literally admitted being anxious in these moments. It's going to be a big test for them against a team who has been there year after year now. It's crazy, but it's true. So,
yeah, going to be really exciting. Cavs, Pacers, Sunday. We have, obviously, Knicks Pistons is going on right now. Anyone watching live, Knicks are up 30-23. Brunson has it going early. And then, we'll see about Nuggets Clippers later tonight. So
it'll be a fun game.
Yeah.
War.
It's awesome. But I love it. I'll never complain. That's why I want all of these series to go 7 if possible, because I love all the NBA basketball. And It's been awesome. So thank you all for listening, watching. Shout out to Trainwreck Sports. Follow us on all socials at Happy Hour Hoops One, and hope you guys are enjoying the basketball. Later, guys.
Have a good one, folks.